All right. Well, welcome back to the next episode in our series of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. And our focus on this particular episode of this series is really to continue to dive deeper into what's been going on with this current administration, the Trump administration. What are all the things that they've been doing? And they're not really playing chess. Clearly, based on everything that's going on right now, Trump and his administration have been planning this probably way before he was elected president. So during the Biden administration, this is a lot going on. So let's continue to dive into this and get in deeper. If you're a subscriber, thanks so much for subscribing. If not, feel free to hit that bell and subscribe. We drop every episode on Thursday. Of course, if you like our content, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you being here when there's so many other areas that you can spend your time. So what's really the end game as we go through this planning process, as we've been going through this process, the end game, what's that look like? Well, we got to restore manufacturing. Now, granted, it's not going to be like it was before we started offshoring a lot of this stuff. It just won't make sense. For the same point that Tim Cook was bringing up, we just don't have qualified people. It's not that we don't have people we just don't have enough of them. We need more of them. So we do one of two things. We either have India do it, or we have all those 200 million Indians that can manufacture. We bring them here. We bump our population from 400 million to 600 million, and we bring them all here and do manufacturing here. Or we just have a deal with them. There's a cost either way. There's a cost either way. So by restoring manufacturing to about 15% to GDP by 2030, that's 5 years from now. That's pretty reasonable. That's not bad. Okay. It's not back to 100%. It's not 50%. Just we need to restore manufacturing. Okay. Now the US dollar at 60% global reserve. With right now, we're at 59% through the IMF. So we should be closer to 60%. And with all these things I'm talking about, there's charts that support all of this. I just didn't want to bore you with all these charts and go through all this rigmarole. Okay? My goal is to give you an overview of what's happening. Cliff notes, what's happening. Okay? So the US dollar at 60% global reserve just brings us right about where we're at 59% IMF. International Monetary Fund. Okay? So at 60%, we're good. Okay. Now it used to be higher. It used to be 75%. And over the last 2-3 decades, it dropped down to 59%. And all the other countries, the Euro and all these other countries has been about the same, except for one country, China's, has made up some of the difference. Okay. Still not to the percentage that we are. Okay. Now we need to build trade 40% of global GDP alignment with the US. So we got to really structure this global trade with GDP alignment with us. So hey, we want to help you. We want your citizens, we want your people to have better lives, but we also do as well. Right? So let's create this reciprocal deal that benefits everybody. Okay? And really, when we look at this, trade is a weapon. So back in the day, what would happen? Everyone grab your swords and shields, kiss your wife and your kids. We're going to battle. And that's what World War II was. That's what war is. It's a battle, and you use the weapons you have. So rather than putting our men and women at harm physically, we just negotiate trade. Now, was this the idea back in 1944 when they created Bretton Woods? I don't know. Could have been. The US dollar? But the country's weaponizing the dollar. Well, yeah, that's trade. It's either that or a missile. Man, Dollar seems a lot easier than blowing people up. Let's use our head. I think we've gotten so comfortable in the United States that we've become these whining wussies. Shut the F up. Do you want to send your kid overseas? Do you want to put a gun in your kid's hand sitting at the guard of your fence of your house because the enemies have invaded? Do you want to be the actual characters in a movie? That's the other option. Or we do what tools are in our hands that actually keeps everybody alive, including the other people we don't like. This keeps Chinese people alive too. But China's got to clean their own house. That's not our problem. Them being communist is not our problem, it's their problem. What is our problem is how that affects us, which is what's being rectified right now. Okay? It's about loyalty. This is all about loyalty. Can you trust your friends? Can you trust your allies? Is there a loyalty? Can you be confident in that loyalty for access and protection, which equals trade US dollar? Trade is the weapon. You and I, we the people, are the consumers that drive the world economy. I've said this over and over and over again. When our economy goes down, everything goes. What happened with tariffs, right? When we started talking about all these things, what happened to all these other countries? Their central banks started putting money into their systems. Why? Because you and I, we the people, rule the financial system of the world. It's a huge responsibility. But in our capitalistic free society, we have the option for that. If it was so bad, we would have nobody who would want to come to our country. Nobody. We'd have people leaving our country, just like people are leaving California or these blue states. Why are they leaving? Why did I leave California? Because there was something better. I was tired of that. I'm paying more taxes than any other state on my income. My gas prices are higher than any other gas station in America. My cost of goods is more expensive. I'm on the freaking coast. China's on the other side. All the goods come here and I'm paying more for those goods. Housing prices. I mean, honestly, the only thing that was good about California was their property taxes were lower. But your income taxes were way higher. By the way, I'd rather pay more in property tax than income tax. Here's why. If you're somebody who is making money in the top 10% of income earners, you don't want a state income tax. You want a property tax. It's your property. It goes to your area. At least that's how it's designed here. Anyways, that's not for this episode. So, currency. Well, before tariff threats, there was so this is what I was saying in the very beginning. Today is proof that Trump and his team have been building a game plan. Getting reelected, all of this hinged on him being elected. Why he worked so hard and toured the country and had thousands and thousands and thousands of you and I, we the people, show up. And we made that difference in the polls. And so now he's starting to execute this plan. He didn't just get in and then, did his inauguration speech and said, okay, let's figure out what the hell we're going to do. No. This was the plan design. Utilizing Bitcoin strategy for currency and digital asset strategy, and utilizing a stable coin strategy. This is important for the currency, okay? This was before the tariff threats. Remember, Bitcoin was a conversation that was all had beforehand. So what Trump did was say, hey, we love Bitcoin. We love cryptocurrency. Here's the decisions we're going to do. Right? And where was all the focus on that? So what a leader do? What's the coach do? Ooh, it's change focus off the players and I'm going to tariff the world. Oh, Trump, you're horrible. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. And what's been building out? The Bitcoin digital stablecoin strategies. There's bills today that have been signed in to allow these to happen. We saw the Securities Exchange Commission drop lawsuits against various digital asset companies. So, all that being said, what is all this? There's a lot going on. I don't know how if Trump sleeps. If him and his team sleep at all. So, all of this makes the United States investable. $1 billion plus. Okay? That's what he wants. He wants people to invest in the United States. If you invest over $1 billion, there is no red tape. He's making it easier to allow countries and companies to invest in the United States. And by doing that, he's allowing things like energy dominance. You're going to get energy more readily available. What has the Nvidia? This is a great example. The CEO of Nvidia, one of the things he's talked about is the cost of energy. To run AI, to run technology, all technology, you need energy. And having solar panels isn't going to be the sole way we're going to be able to do this. So, by the way, we mine for coal. We do the same thing for lithium. I don't know why lithium for batteries, that mining lithium is more environmentally safe than coal. I don't get that. The same thing's happening, right? But Doge was created to start the deregulation process, to start going through and getting rid of these layers of things that companies and other countries had to go through just to try to do business in the United States. It was ridiculous, is ridiculous. So minimizing the red tape, getting the fast pass for those of you in California, or those of you that went to Disneyland or gone to Disneyland, you want the fast pass. And if you have a fast pass, you want that money into the system quicker as the United States. As a citizen, we the people, we want that money in the United States quicker. Okay? And so the tax cuts is a reciprocation of Doge. So if we don't need all this money because of Doge and all this silly money being spent all these other places, then you and I don't need to be taxed that way. So if we lower taxes, yes, the government generates less revenue, but when you and I, we the people, have more money, what ends up happening? We end up consuming more, we end up investing more, we end up doing more, and what happens to tax revenue? It goes up. And this opens up the financial flow. People say cash is king. It is not king. The flow of cash is king. So, for example, let me use an analogy, and I have this analogy in my book, Economic Termites. Let's use this analogy. So imagine you're walking down the road and you see a pond, and the pond, the surrounding area is beautiful, green, beautiful, but the pond has algae. There's a ton of algae. Why? That's disgusting. And with algae, it grows and smells. You get a lot of bugs, right? How do you fix that? You actually start flowing water into that pond, and it creates movement. And that movement actually causes the algae to dissipate. So the smell goes away, the bugs go away. What'd you do? You just created a flow. Cash is the same way. If cash is just sitting there, inflation is eating away and that has no point and purpose to be able to grow and make more. So you need it to flow. So the open financial system allows cash to flow. That's what Trump's trying to do. And this is real all kind of going through this chaos theory and this negotiation strategy of a psychological strategy called anchoring. What anchoring is a way to negotiate of throwing something out there for the other party to focus on. What was that? Smacked upside the head, tariffs. That's what Trump was doing. He was anchoring. And he chose a percentage that was like, holy cow, hang on, no. Hey, Trump, we want to negotiate. Except for one country dug their heels in. And then what they end up having to do, that's right, negotiate. It's for their survival. They know that. But they didn't want to lose face. They didn't want to look weak. Well, sorry. Can't help you there. We've looked weak for a long time, and you've been trying to take advantage of it. Now it's your time. So, when we start talking about trade wars and using trade as a weapon, the reality of all of this is you don't have trade without flow of cash, financial flow. So this is a monetary war. This is a war about money. Okay? And we need to understand whose money. We the people. You and I. We the people. We're the money. So if you don't like any of this that's going on, be ready to defend your shores. Be ready to defend your property. Okay? None of this is a right. Every single thing we have here in the United States is a blessing. It's not a right. It's not because you're white and there's privilege. It's not because you're black and there's affirmative action. There is nothing other than this is a blessing to be here. Everything we have is a blessing, not a right, period. And the blessing is earned. It's earned. You and I, we the people, earn this by making decisions in our life. Now, we can make bad decisions, and we see the consequences of bad decisions. We can make good decisions, and we see the consequences of that as well. Which one do you want? When can you change and start making that shift from, bad decisions to good decisions? Right now. And that is what Trump is doing. We've made bad decisions. Time to change. And when's that change happen? Right now. Right? It's the old saying. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now. Okay? So we're planting trees right now for the rest of our generation and for the future generations. It's important. It's very important. So now what we want to do is we want to now start transitioning to this big, beautiful bill. This big, beautiful bill that Trump's talking about. But I want to talk to you as a business owner. I want to talk to you as a from an asset coach and tax strategist perspective. Okay. And so this only passed the House, so it has to go to the Senate. So these are just some basic takeaways that I've seen, just some of the research I've done thus far. Okay. So all of this is subject to change. That's my caveat. All of this is subject to change. But what's this look like? Well, the first thing would be QBI, qualified business income. In order to qualify for this deduction, which went from 20% potentially proposed to 23%, you need to have business income, qualified business income. Okay. Now, it's really built out and designed for the first 100,000 of qualified business income. So basically a $23,000 tax benefit. So this is why you want to build a business, because it equals tax revenue. Now, when you do this, it benefits you, but who's it really benefit? The government. Why is the government doing this? Because you and I, as business owners, the moment we hire an independent contractor, the moment we offer a product or a service that we have to use another company to help support a product or service, so we hire an IT guy, we buy computer equipment, we hire an employee, we hire an independent contractor. All of that creates tax revenue. Remember, flow of cash. So how do you create flow of cash? By giving business owners the opportunity to have more cash. Most business owners are going to put this money into their business or into other assets that require taxpayers, which creates tax revenue. Okay. Number two, opportunity zones. The tax bill is talking about opportunity zones. So any capital gain invested into an opportunity zone would equal some sort of tax incentives. So the basis step up would be 10%. So if you're in a non-rural area, so an urban area, you can get a step up a basis by 10%. Or in a rural area, it's 30%. But these opportunity zones are determined by the county and government, state government. So usually it's the governor who says these areas of my state are going to be opportunity zones. So you and I sell an asset, we have huge cap gains. We can take that money, reinvest it in this opportunity zone, and we can get a step up basis if we hold for 5 to 7 years. Or if we hold it for 10 years or longer, we pay no taxes on that capital gain. So it's a way to take our capital gain, put it into opportunity zone, and there after 10 years, there's zero taxation. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Again, completely negotiable, subject to change. Number 3 was bonus depreciation, going back to 100%, retro back to January of 2025. Now, what happened was when this first came into play, the first year it was 100% bonus depreciation, and then each year it trimmed down. So if nothing gets done in 2025, this reverts back to previous laws of 2017. Okay. So the bonus depreciation, what's cool about this is that you go buy a company vehicle, company truck, or work truck. Okay. Let's say it's 80 grand. You'll get the ability to depreciate that 80 grand right there. Now, let's say you're making payments. Great, you can still deduct the payments. Let's say your gas, your maintenance. Great, you can still deduct that. You still can deduct the cost of the vehicle in the purchase and or the financing of it. The bonus depreciation gives you almost the entire depreciation. Well, it doesn't almost, gives you the entire depreciation year one, but you can still deduct all the normal deductions off that company vehicle. Why? It's basically causing us to reinvest in our business, reinvest in the economy, flow of cash. So I keep saying everything here is all about flow of cash, flow of cash, flow of cash. It's important. It's important. All right, subject to change. Probably won't change. This has been kind of on the docket. This is probably a gimme. Okay. Number 4, buy or build a building that has anything to do with manufacturing. You get to write off 100% of the depreciation in year one, and if it creates a loss, you can carry forward that loss to future years. but it's a buy a building. So it's no different. You can buy a building now, right? But you have to do cost segregation and you have to get certain things, all this kind of stuff. What Trump wants is that he wants to create an incentive for manufacturing. Why? Everything we just talked about. Reinvest, build up American manufacturing. And rather than not buying a building, buy a building and you get a huge benefit for doing so. Number 5, entertainment. Pre-2017, you were able to basically write off all entertainment. So you take some clients to an NBA game or to an NHL hockey game. You take clients or you buy tickets to a client's favorite singer for a concert. You could write 100% of that off. Okay. That got backed up to 50%. The new bill does not mention this at all, meaning that what happens in 2025, that if it doesn't get renewed to 50% of entertainment, then it will, because it's not mentioned in the bill, then it means it reverts back to the original 100%, which is what we're hoping for. And then the last one was business meals, also was at 50%. That can get back to 100%. And this is important. The reason why this is important, there's a lot of companies, especially like tech companies and stuff, but there's a lot of companies that used to buy lunch or provide food and drinks and all this kind of stuff for their employees so that their employees could have food while they're at work and keep working. It was a productivity thing. And so all the business owner and the people running the business had to do was provide the food and you'd get 100% deduction. It's a cost of doing business, right? No different than buying a computer or a desk or other office supplies. It's a cost of doing business. Feeding your employees, keeping them at work so they can continue to be at work and not have travel time and leave the office, all this kind of stuff, is a cost of doing business. So it looks like this may get bumped back to 100% as well. There's a couple other little things that really aren't really worth mentioning, in my opinion, so that are in this process. But some of the other things that were talked about was the extension and modification of the 37% top income bracket. You remember it used to be 39.6 and it dropped to 37. They're looking at making that permanent till the next president, right? But making that permanent at 37%. And the goal was to also eliminate larger families, personal exemptions. So personal exemptions were capped, AMT exemptions, phase out provisions. Some of those were affected larger families. So if you had 3 or less kids, it wasn't that big of a deal. But as you have a larger family size, and this really affected who? Religious families. There's a lot of religious families that have more than 3 kids. They just do. It's part of what they are. So the elimination of the personal exemption, AMT exemption, phase out provisions really will allow some more tax benefit to those. The SALT tax, state and local tax. State and local tax was any state taxes, local county property taxes or taxes like that were capped at 10 grand. So now they're looking at capping at 40 grand, but up to $500,000 of modified adjusted gross income. Between 500 and 600,000, it phases out. And it doesn't say what it phases out to, it just says phases out. But if you make over 600,000, your state and local tax stays capped at $10,000. So this was another way, I think, of saying, okay, we're going to help middle class, upper middle class, and lower. So those that make over 600,000, you're going to stay capped at this. This affects the Business owners, there's business owners who tend to make over 600,000. Um, Highly skilled, licensed professionals like doctors, attorneys, uh, if they're set up as a W-2 and not as an S corp or some kind of pass-through entity, this will affect them significantly as well. The other thing was the 750,000 residents percent interest deduction on mortgages. So remember, all mortgages up to 750,000, your interest is deductible for your private residence. Anything interest above the 750 is not. Okay, so there's a calculation formula on that. Child tax credit, $2,500 up to the married filing joint of 400,000. So if you're married filing joint, if you make over 400,000, you don't get the child credit. If you make less, you get the child credit. They bumped it up to 2,500. For single filers, it would be 200,000 of income. Personally, the auto loan percentage deduction, what they're talking about is up to 10,000 loan percentage. Really what they're trying to do is say, because of the cost of loans, auto loans, the cost of cars now, giving them an opportunity to deduct some of the interest on auto loans, as long as final assembly was in the US. So again, focus on American manufacturing, right? The senior standard deduction was $4,000 per 65 and over bump up. But you had to make over 775,000 single or 150,000 married joint. This will not benefit a lot of our members at Terra Firma, but this is something that for seniors that within the income ranges of 150 or lower for married filing joint, or 75,000 lower single. Let's see here. The SALT deduction for businesses, the pass through. So certain states, what they would do is they created these SALT deductions for businesses and allow businesses to deduct some of these SALT taxes through the business. But you cannot do this, or you cannot use this if you're in certain pass-through entities like health, law, accounting, consulting, financial, partnership pass-throughs. So this essentially, this is a lot of current American businesses. So this would help restaurants, that sort of stuff, home services. That it would help those as long as they're not structured in partnership deals. So let's see, depreciation we talked about. We've talked about QBI. Estate tax up to 15 million plus inflation. It'll keep adjusting plus inflation as well. So those were my notes from what's kind of going on right now in current events. And there's so much more. I mean, we're really just scratching the surface here and talking about what Trump's been doing and all. I mean, working overtime. This is probably why he wants to have no income taxes on overtime, because the dude is working overtime. He wants all of that income tax free for himself. I'm just kidding. I know, bad joke. Sorry. So, but there's a lot going on. We cannot look at one thing on its own. We have to look at the totality. So if you're a member of Terra Firma, or you're thinking about being a member of Terra Firma and you're watching our channel, this is what we do as for our members. We look at the totality of the whole plan. How does every single one of your assets, every single dollar you earn, no matter whether it's through your W-2 income or through all your investments and passive incomes, how every single dollar affects you in an overall plan, structured, designed to make sure every single dollar is working just as hard for you as you worked hard for it. You should only work hard for your dollar one time. That's your initial earning. After that, that dollar should be working hard for you. Now remember, not all your assets have a brain. Only one asset has a brain, and that's you. Every other asset you have has no brain, and it needs you, the one with the brain, to tell it what to do. Okay. And that's what Terra Firma membership is all about. That's what we're trying to structure with all these things that are going on that we discussed today and then some. Okay. So again, Thank you for being a subscriber of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. Thank you for subscribing here. Thank you for being a subscriber. If you're not, you need to click the bell. Give us a thumbs up on our content. Give us some comments. There's a lot going on, a lot going on. And it's just helpful, at least for me, to be able to go through this stuff, try to translate everything that's going on to be able to communicate with you. Because some of the stuff I don't understand either. I have to do a lot of research on some of the stuff that's going on. Why? What's the background? That's why I watch so many different YouTube guys, is so to build up my knowledge so I can be better for you, for our members at Terra Firma, but also you on this channel. Okay. So, but thanks so much for listening. I appreciate it. Go make it a great day. Bye-bye.